Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Inside Scoop with Alex and Jeff. I'm Alex Dingman.
I'm Jeff Doss. What's up, guys? And if you can see, we have a special guest with us. She is part of the Martial Arts Center Network.
Yep.
We got Mimi. We got
Yes,
Regina
sir.
Thompson. Welcome.
Yes, sir. How you guys doing?
We are doing
I'm great. Hey, I got a question real quick because you are the Regena Thompson, but
Yes.
where did the nickname Mimi come from?
It was a childhood nickname my mother gave to me when I was younger. She was kind of playing around with different nicknames, and she told me that Mimi kind of stuck. I know it doesn't go anywhere near Regina. So, and then being in karate, and then my family coming to tournaments, going to tournaments, they just kind of picked it up, and now it's all over the place.
All right.
Nice.
Yeah, it doesn't pertain to anything we're going to talk about. This is like
Good
wait a
deal.
minute.
No worries.
I
No
just
worries.
noticed that.
I'm an open book.
Didn't know.
Oh man, this is going to be a great show. Because we've had some people on our network like either sub in for one of us or whatever. I don't know if anyone's really been a guest yet. So this is one that's been important. We even did a Regina Thompson birthday episode.
Yeah, we
did.
Absolutely.
So we're
Thank you.
excited to have you on. So I don't know how long. I guess
appreciate it.
yes, that was a lot of fun to talk about. Just big moments. I know for me, you're someone who I looked up to for years. A big sis. So excited to have you on to share a little bit about yourself, but also just like chat. You know what I mean? Talk about,
Yes, sir.
chop it up about sport karate and what we love. So this is going to be a fun episode.
Absolutely.
So guys, if you guys got questions or anything, put them in the comments. And but as always, we are sponsored by Virtual Fight Tour, and man, we definitely have some hot takes on this fight coming up. As we had the grudge match, Thomas Wright and Trey Lazenby. This thing we've been hearing about for months now, if it was really going to happen or not. And now Jesse made it happen. You know, I'm sure everyone's gotten different sides of it all and the story and who is this and that. But, you know, what do you we got figured out, though. It's going to be not in the ring. It's going to be on, mats, which actually and in 2 rounds, not 3. So I think that overall that'll be a good look for them to do this fight.
Absolutely. No cage.
No cage. Yeah, no cage. It may actually be better. That way people can split them up if we get some late hits, which we will. So,
Absolutely.
I don't know.
Absolutely. I think so.
I don't know that no cage makes it different because they
What's
didn't
up,
like
Thomas?
each other before there was a cage, so it's not like they're going to hit each other lighter. You know what I mean?
That's true.
This is just going to be, listen.
I expect it to
pure
be
content.
a brawl.
Exactly. But
Yeah.
I think what we all want is we want a brawl within the confines of the rules.
right.
Maybe
A good
tiptoe
fight.
a line or two. Maybe you cross, you put your toe over the line a little bit, then you come back. I think that's what we all kind of want.
Yeah.
Nobody
I think so.
wants to all right, we can never do this
I
again.
agree.
Because if it gets really bad, then we might have to start shutting stuff down. And we don't want that.
No. We just want a good clean fight with some
I
hard
understand.
hits. Yeah, with some hard hits. And I think
Absolutely.
I think that
Absolutely.
we'll get that with these two. They have their own flavor. They have their own attitude. I'm excited to see Thomas Wright fighting again. It's been a long time. Again, one of my favorites to watch growing up. The duck under back fist, the ridge hand. We'll definitely see that. Especially with the height. Just a little bit higher. The height of Trey. Those things is what set that up big time. So.
I don't
Absolutely.
think the reach is the big advantage for Trey, although it's
No.
there. I think
It's the weight.
it's the weight and the intensity. Because we've all
Yeah.
fought guys who are bigger than us, and we're like, yeah, I got them, But then we fight people who are shorter or lighter than us and give us fits, Which that's and then the other side of that, that's also Thomas. Right?
Right.
He was the light guy who gave everyone fits, who fought you like he was a heavyweight. So that's why this is just such a great matchup.
Indeed. And I like the fact that Trey is so big and he's so fast and he hits hard. I've seen him fight some great people, wins and losses, but in general, my thought has always been the same. Damn, he's fast. Damn, he hits hard, with the back fist, with the just a body point. I mean, in general, I hadn't seen Thomas fight in years. I'm not taking anything away from him, but in general, just from my knowledge of just recent, I'm expecting, and this is just my opinion, for Thomas to just have a little bit of ring rust. I don't know his training regimen. I don't know any of that, but as my own thought, Trey is more active and Thomas hasn't been in the last few years, So in general, to me, it's going to be exciting to kind of see someone that is out there and active versus someone that's not, and just those two big names and those people, they kind of meet in the middle and see what happens.
Yeah, I definitely think I'm going to enjoy seeing, because it's really kind of what he is, even though he fought in the early 2000s. He really is kind of like a 90s style fighter.
Yes, sir.
So I am going to enjoy seeing that. So it's going to be great. So if you guys aren't planning on getting your tickets to VFT for this one, I don't know what you're spending your money on.
Right.
I wish I was judging it.
Yeah. That would be intense.
That would be great.
I
don't know who is. I mean, because it's going to be at the King of New York, so it's going to be a little different. So I don't know who the judges are going to be. I mean, I'm assuming some of the same judges. So
right.
Yeah, they're going to have their hands full.
Fair and honest judges.
Yes, but they're going to have their hands full breaking up. So I guess Aachen will be probably the center.
Absolutely. I hope they throw a female in there somehow and kind of balance it out a little bit. Women see and do better than men. So in general, I just hope that there's a woman that's thrown in there somewhere.
I know Raquel has judged some for them in certain things. I know
Absolutely
was it at AmeriKick? I think she was one of the judges for the overall their last man standing.
Okay, so, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yes, I think that will probably be the case as well. So. And again, they're going to have King of New York the next day. So, I mean, that's a great event. Still trying to figure out a way to get up there for that. So
King of New York kind of feels like it's become like a super regional.
Yeah, it definitely is. Definitely.
Absolutely.
Like, because there's been a few of those. Like, there's been some regional tournaments where it's like, I mean, it's a regional tournament, but you're going to get a fair amount of national competitors that aren't anywhere close to this region. And I think early on in the year, what was Jim Haymore's tournament, the North Georgia Open? That kind of was that. It was like the super regional.
Yeah,
I think King of New York is the super regional.
Yeah, King of New York, K-Talk, both of those events up there in New York. I mean, really, they're the ones that are leading that area. You know what I mean?
And they're more independent. So for them to have that following, that says a lot for those tournaments. It says a lot for Jesse and what he's doing, and not only just kind of putting the top-notch people out there, but putting things out there that the people want to see. So that says a lot also in itself.
Oh, man, we got...
Jeff, you want to pick up on that one?
The one that Chrome is saying?
Yeah, I think you should.
All right, so we got a big one. Sorry, that even blocked Regina's face. I'm sure Jesse has a no knockout rule. Both guys have to understand that. What they do can help or hurt sport karate. See, many people don't know since the mid-'80s to now that across the country, state boxing commissioners have been trying to get their hand in sport karate. What these guys do will be big. Jesse has to make sure the gloves, hand wraps, hand gear, everything else is correct. Again, the guys have to know it's big. Hey, I mean.
So Brian's right.
Yeah.
He is right that, once we start allowing knockouts, it could be a problem, which I think like what are we doing? Are we doing knockouts? Are we not? I think that's what, was.
Yeah. And he hasn't. That's been a rule in VFT that they weren't,
We just don't want to talk about it.
Right. Let's see. Everyone's saying hey to Regina. Oh, hopefully she'll get back on here. Yeah, she froze up. But yeah. So yes, and Thomas said we are aware. So
that's cool.
I think, man, I'm just excited to see it. I'm excited to see him back. I'm excited to see Trey get this opportunity as well. And it's a different fight for Trey too than what we would normally like. If we were setting up a fight for Trey, you'd probably think, all right, let's put two big heavyweights against each other, right? This is a whole different kind of matchup, and so it's just intriguing. So,
yeah, I mean, it's not like that's what I was saying earlier. It's not like Trey is the big heavy hitter and Thomas is the light speedy guy, although they're both speedy guys.
right.
Thomas don't hit light.
No.
And that's the thing is I think we don't say enough we keep reminding people about Thomas, but we're not really saying a lot about Trey just because Trey's so current.
Right.
But Trey's a badass dude.
Yeah.
He's got. Remember we kept saying that, Jeff. He's got a certain amount of badassery to him.
That's right.
That's
right.
He
does.
That's Trey Lazenby. He's just badass dude. But I don't see anyone slouching, or sloughing to either one of them. I think someone's going to get smacked hard, and they're both going to be staring eye to eye, and that's just going to be exciting.
That's the reason I think I expected it to be in a ring, just because of the hard hitting, the smacking, nothing kind of dirty or anything like that, but in general, something to keep them in the center, kind of ringed off to where there's not a lot of, space between them. Right. But in general, I expect it to be a good fight. I'm anxious to see Thomas, getting out there. He leaves hope and motivation for myself. So it's going to be interesting.
Regina, I just started thinking about this. Is there a match like this that we've seen in the past, maybe even in the confines of a tournament, that would be like comparable?
I'd have to think about that. Not anything to me, not that I can remember, not in the last few years. I can honestly say that I can't think of anything off the top of my head right now. But by the end of the show, I'm going to start thinking and maybe come up with something.
I mean, maybe not necessarily. I mean, maybe you could make the comparison for the Bad Blood, but even just the fighting styles.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that's a little bit harder too, because a lot of times they're going to be in different weight classes. It would be more of a grands thing, So
I thought when I thought about
team
that,
fighting or something,
Right. When I thought about that, I thought about two guys I watch fight, multiple times a week: BJ Carnahan, Hamid Feruzzi.
Yeah.
And they would fight each other. I'm not kidding you. We would fight, and one of the things I loved about fighting with BJ is the same thing I hated about fighting with BJ. Is BJ fought you like it is the final for an overall every single drill or match, anything. In this, he would knock people out in training. You'd be like, all right, a-hole, knock it off, right?
that reverse punch was a killer.
Or his ridge hand. He was so weird, man.
Yes.
He would do it with a front ridge hand, like a
drop people. Yeah.
A backwards one. Like, how do you knock someone out with that? But he did, right? But Hamid would fight him, and these guys would have wars, right? And that when Hamid was like 140 pounds and BJ was like 240 pounds, right? Dude.
I get it.
That's wild.
I get it.
Yeah, as far as a match that I always thought was always heated, but they were in the same weight class, was Brian Plimple and Damon Gilbert. That was just always, you never knew what's going to happen.
There. Those two,
they would always end up, the matches would end up being long because we'd have to do extra timeouts and this and that to pull them off each other, to arbitrate about something. It was just wild, There was always something being said.
I remember at Sin City, Jennifer Robles had her tournament in El Paso, and they did the overtime match in the back with just the judges and the arbitrator because there was a problem with someone scoring a point. They couldn't arbitrate it. They couldn't figure it out. And so they did an overtime fight. And that overtime point and match still lasted 2 to 3 minutes, like a full fight. And they were going at it. I remember trying to sneak in there and kind of hiding under the table so I could have a ringside seat. But it was a good fight. It was a good fight, though. That's a good example, Jeff. Very good.
Yeah, and it went on for years. You know what I mean? And
Absolutely.
it was something that what was funny was that Brian was trying to take Damon's spot of winning that heavyweight division, that super heavyweight division, and it was just interesting, man. Just how he eventually took it, and then Dame's like, no, I want it back, and
Absolutely.
so it was
A
professional
good
rivalry, but also their personalities did not match. They just did not click on that, So
Yes,
really
absolutely.
good
Country
one.
boy and the hood boy.
Yeah.
Me. And I loved it. It was great.
Right.
Good
When
competition. No
you
hard
had the
feelings.
wild guy
Yes.
and the policeman as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So we got lots going on here. A couple things. Just much love, Regina. It was really awesome having you at his event at the Ozarks this year, Richard Osborne.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. I look forward to going back again.
Kristen says she's waiting for the Regina comeback announcement.
Oh, I like it. I like it.
And my mom says hi.
It's out there. Hi, Mama Doss. I miss you.
All right. So next thing that's going on in sport karate, which if people don't know, we talked about a week ago or 2 weeks ago, is a new reality show called Kitty Kai. So this is actually based on, they just released their first 3 episodes. It's on Discovery Plus. It is actually based on the Southeast sport karate, just some sport karate schools in the area. Okay. So,
right.
They, and local ones, the biggest name on it as far as in the sport karate is John Chung. John Chung is in Virginia. So he is one of the schools featured. Jeff McGregor is a school down here in Danville, about an hour away from me. There's a school in North Carolina, Mark Williams, who does a lot with the SKA promoting events and stuff. He has the Kung Fu school. And then there's a guy called Cliff Kitchen, who I never really saw until they started filming this show. So this, and I'm sure one day I will explain just my experience with talking about even doing the interviewing process before this happened, and knowing about how this event took place. But they did certain things, and they the first episode is pretty much explaining, what sport karate is in the Southeast. They kind of, there were some funny things, and they were like, I don't know who called, I've never heard this called that, but they said that we call it down here the black belt Bible belt. I'm like, okay, but
black
whatever.
Belt, what? Say that again.
Because our area is called the Bible Belt, right?
Okay.
From Virginia all the way down to like South Carolina, and they all of a sudden sport karate is a something, they're trying to make it copy like Cobra Kai, right? Where they kind of make it like the karate's huge in the valley, right? Well, they're trying to do that same thing, which it is big here, but it's big in a lot of places, right? So that was one of the things they call it, and I'm sitting there like, I've never heard that called that. I've been here,
and you've been in that area your entire life.
Entire life, yeah. So it was just kind of funny. What's up, Coach? But yeah. So
what up, Coach?
That was funny. The first thing though, is the character of Mark Williams, who I've known him for a while. I've even had some run-ins with him. We're cool now, but I mean, I've had to kick him out of my tournament before years ago.
No, stop.
Yeah. So now we're cool, but
I gotta know why you had to kick him out. Why'd you have to kick him out?
There were some issues with the league that we were a part of, and yeah, let's just say that there were some things that were done that were not supposed to be done. So anyways, I'll get on that another time, but I know it's hard.
Just leave the teaser like that.
Well, there were some things where we thought we had members of a league that were running, like a president and a vice president and things like that. And then next thing you know, we found out that all of our money that we had for the nonprofit league was gone and recreated. So there. So yeah, so it was not very good. So yeah, I revealed a lot in that. So anyways,
secrets.
Just that little bit. Yeah. But anyways, he is pretty much pitched as like the John Kreese of this show, right? And the first thing he says, he's like, when we go to this tournament, we are really trying to take this team out. And I think really he's trying to talk about John Chung's team, right? And the way it kicks off is he says, I want to burn down their karate school and piss on the ashes. And so that's what's the first thing you see on this show talking about karate. And, you know, it definitely is intriguing, but it's not always what we want, you know, to put out there for martial arts.
Right.
As the show goes on, it did get better. The first episode is kind of like, like, you know, did they
But
really
how
say
about
that?
this? And this is a question. If you didn't take martial arts, if you weren't a martial artist,
Right.
would you feel that same way, or would you?
That's what
or
I'm
would
saying.
you?
That's why, and that's a great question, because I feel like that's what, when I see that, I think, okay, and a lot of us are kind of like cringing because we are martial artists and we know, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, but as I got into episode 2 and episode 3, like I was kind of like intrigued, like, and I knew what happened at the tournament because I was judging at the tournaments that happened, but I was still like, oh, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? I thought the producers, everyone has done a great job of presenting it in a certain way. The way it's edited, the way the story is told for the most part is very good. You know, like with anything, we're going to say, oh, wait, that's not really what happened, or these people aren't really that good, or they don't win this or that. But, you know, they have a story to tell. They have to make it, you know, look well. So I would suggest you guys to watch it. I know that they're in talks to maybe have another season to add some other people.
Or maybe go to a different area. Who knows?
Or go to a different area.
Maybe they go to the north, the northeast. Who knows?
Right.
And that's the thing. It's not like when you said, "Oh, these people aren't that good." Sometimes the people that are that good are not that interesting.
Exactly.
And sometimes the people that are that interesting, not that good.
Right. But you got to start too, you know, with like people from the bottom, and then maybe as they keep going, they're going to go to these bigger tournaments, and then they're going to see what they do. Who knows, you know? But
Gotcha.
But I do like that they, you know, were really showing the legacy of John Chung, which is a cool thing, and what he's accomplished, you know, and
Absolutely.
what he meant to the sport. So that was really cool.
Okay, so is that kind of how it starts? So like John Chung is like he's the guy, and then
let's just say one of the things, like we're all, and this is a tournament I was at, I had my school at. They had the 3 instructors there, and then all of a sudden John Chung walks in, and they make it like everyone, the whole tournament stopped and stared at John Chung. Most people didn't know who John Chung was, but they made it like that. And so it was really kind of funny. And they even have, you know, the guy, Mark Williams, like studying his old Panther production.
I'm surprised no one knew who John Chung was, you know?
Yeah,
like,
that's where I was stopped for a second. Like, what do you mean?
Like, wait, what?
Right.
And I'm not even a forms competitor. I'm a fighter. So I thought everyone knew who that was.
All right. So the instructors, yes, know who he is. Okay. But really, let's think about it. At a tournament, most of the kids, the people aren't going to, you know, let's just be honest, you know, it's just like, oh, wait, who's that guy that everyone's talking to? Then they tell them or whatever, you know. So most of the karate people know who he is. I don't mean it that way, but it's just like, you know, majority of the people at the tournament don't, you know, the instructors do, but
you know, maybe that's a good segue point, because I really think, and Andrew's right, John Chung was a fighter too. But there are a lot of people that we have to educate our people on. It's just, it's really hard to get all of them, right? So when you think about that, like, I would think most of the people that I've had an opportunity to impact would know who John Chung is. But now that I sit back and think about it, I'm like, same time frame, I don't think they would have a clue who George Chung is.
Right.
Now I'm like, and George Chung was badass dude.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, damn. All right. There's so many. There's so many people. There's so many divisions. There's so many champions. Right. So it's hard, but you know, we have to educate ourselves first before we can educate others. You know what I mean?
Right. We have to know about. We have to go dig through.
You guys have to give me 1 second. I'm sorry, my girls. I gotta help them. Give me 10 seconds.
No problem.
Sorry.
While about it, you take over. And look at Coach is talking about it right now. He said that's the problem with our sport. How do you not know who John Chung is as a martial artist? Coach, exactly. Right.
Exactly.
Now I feel like I might have had a slight advantage because I remember looking at pictures of my instructors while they were on a team with John Chung, and I would just sit there. I'd be like, "Oh, who is that guy?" Right? And they go, "Oh, well, that's Charlie Lee. That's John Chung." And I'm like, "Oh, who are those guys?" You know, what am I? I'm a gold belt. I don't know nothing.
And
You know
that's
what I
where you
mean?
educate them.
Right. But here's the thing. And sometimes there's another problem with our sport, right? We will actually be, I don't know, I don't know if it's arrogance or pride. I don't know what it is, but like we won't even post a picture up like that. We're like, I don't need to put that up. It's just me and John Chung. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or it's the same thing. How about this? This, if you sit back and think about it, it doesn't make any sense. How many times do we just not collect a trophy at a tournament?
Yeah, a lot.
All the time.
All the time.
All the time. Like the only
Yeah.
one that matters is the last one, which also, okay, there is a problem with there are too many, right? Because there's too many divisions. So what are we doing, right?
Right.
But then at the same point, you got to go, did I really just win this tournament and just voluntarily not collect anything? And now I have nothing to remember this from? It's like, this is kind of strange, right?
True. That's why I love medals, because they don't take up as much.
Medals
room.
are easier.
Yes, they're much easier. And even the trophies that I have, and I threw all the 6-foot trophies away or put them somewhere else, but I took the center plate that used to be in. I used to take those out, and that way I would keep them so I would know where it was.
That's pretty unique. I never thought of that, but I like it. That's good.
That way you kind of had, okay, if it was a big deal, but the trophy's like really falling apart because it's 30 years.
Okay, what did you do, Regina?
Yeah.
What did you do with all your tens of thousands of trophies?
Well, when I first left for college, my mom made me get rid of some of them. Before then, I used to win trophies, and I would take them home to my instructor, and he'd kind of break them down and use them as parts. And then as I got older in college, and even now, I keep more of the ones that are different and unique. And then I also keep the ones that I've never won before. Or if I wanted to win them more than one time, the level of competition, what I had to go through, then I keep those. But now that I have children, I don't keep many because they seem to want to fight over them, or they want them for themselves. And it's like, no, that's mommy's. Mommy won that. So you got to wait and win your own. But, I don't keep as many as I used to at all because they take up a lot of space. And then there's the cleaning and the dusting and all that kind of stuff, And like I said, with my girls, those pieces could end up anywhere.
This is a great question. Is there a tournament trophy that you hate that you didn't get, and now the tournament no longer exists?
I got one right now. Top of my. Yep.
What?
I want to hear what Regina says.
Actually, give me a second. You go first because I'm thinking I know there's something out there that I wanted.
Rolex.
I was just going to say that I've never won a Rolex, but I don't hate it. I love it. I would like to actually them to bring it back and me to have the opportunity to compete for it. But in general, that's something that I've never won. I've never won US Open. So that would also be one that I would try to do or want to do. There's a couple out there.
Win, but you can still win US Open. But I think
I'm old.
Come on now.
Oh, come on now.
We're going to get into this.
Yeah. So for me,
I appreciate it.
It was the Vegas tournament. It was the USA Nationals. They used to have the electric trophies.
I won 2 of those.
Oh, yeah. So I never went to that. I went to the NASCAR tournament. I never went to the NBL version until later on when it was Barbie was running, and it was
the Legacy, I believe.
Yeah, but before I went to the Winter Nationals, which is so crazy that in the summer he had an NBL tournament, in the winter he had a NASCAR tournament in the same year.
That's cool.
Yeah,
absolutely. So, I remember that.
That's how big the NBL was on the West Coast, and also where you could do that. It was crazy, but yeah,
absolutely. I like the fact that you could fight in all those tournaments and all those divisions. That was something, I know NASCAR does it now to where you can do both.
But it used to not be that way. Yeah,
absolutely. I was one of the ones that kind of was like, why not? Especially if they're not running at the same time. I get if they are running at the same time, but if you feel like you can do it and you have the opportunity to do it, why not let any and everybody just jump in there?
Yeah, correctly.
I've been saying that for quite a while as well.
Well, Alex, we agree on a lot, but there's some things we disagree on. So it's all good.
That's all right.
It's all right. You're still the man.
All right, cool. Well, speaking of who's the man and who's the woman, listen, we have you on not just because of your martial arts knowledge and insight, although you have a plethora of that.
Right.
You are a champion of champions in your own right.
Yes.
Thank you.
How did this whole thing start?
Karate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was 7. And I used to tell my parents all the time that I wanted to try karate. I wanted to do karate. My dad, he used to work a lot, and on weekends, Saturday mornings, we would wake up, we would watch wrestling, we would watch kung fu movies, we would do all this kind of stuff on Saturdays because that was his weekends off. And then when I was about 7, my parents signed me up on an intro course at Ishmael Robles' school down in Galveston. And from that day on, I've been in karate my entire life. It's like I loved it. But what I was doing at the beginning was kickboxing because that's what Ishmael accelerated in, and that's what he did himself. And he taught me a hell of a lot, you know.
Yes.
But then as I got older, I liked the flash and the speed of point fighting. I can hit you first before anything, or you do anything, you can react or anything like that. And ironically, it's just something that I excelled in. I didn't like the fact that kickboxing, I had to stay in there and keep fighting and kind of keep going. It was that, okay, 2 minutes, I can score these points and then the fight's over. Okay, I like that. And then my very first tournament that I ever competed in when I was a gold belt, ironically, was against Eva Ramirez, Alex's mom. She beat me. We were in the, I believe, 8-9 division. And she beat me. She got first and I got second. And so as we were older, as we got older, it kind of created this rivalry between us here, state and locally. And then out of myself, her, and Danielle Dixon, I was the youngest. So it was like I didn't want to allow these women or these girls at the time to dictate what I liked and how I liked it. So it just made me work harder and train harder because I wanted to excel and even beat them because they were beating me. The first time I fought Danielle, when I moved into the 14 to 17-year-old division, she beat me for the entire year. It took me a whole year to understand and get it as far as what I needed to do and how I needed to do it to come out on top. And that's kind of when I think I started to understand the game a little bit more. But then later on in life, when I met Plowden, that just changed my entire life.
All right, so let's stay just in this area just for a little bit. A couple things just that because CTE had a great discussion. I think it started off talking about top Latin fighters, and that's someone who I thought of was your instructor, Ishmael Robles. I mean, just amazing, legendary kickboxer.
Absolutely. He won in kickboxing and he won in point fighting.
Exactly. I'm just amazing fighter. So on that part, 2, we did our show on Raymond and Regena, right? So just now we had, there's several things that they have in common that people may not know. Okay. So one was just what you just said, with losing for a whole year to, one of your rivals, Danielle. He did the same thing with people forget. Ryan Huntley beat him for years.
Yes,
and then
as intermediate belts, kind of all the way up until they got to black belt division.
The same area, just like you and Danielle. And then all of a sudden, after the 97 Super Grands, where Raymond led his dad's school team to beat them. After that, it was like he never lost to him again.
Absolutely, I remember that.
And so that's one. And then the other one is that both of you guys have, I think, won or been a part of something, winning a world title in something other than point fighting.
Me personally?
Yes. Self-defense.
I never won self-defense.
You were a Uki though in self-defense.
I was, but it wasn't mine. It
wasn't yours, but you were a part of it.
Yes, I appreciate that because that was one of my goals when I was younger. Before I ever retire or give up competing, I wanted to try and win a forms title. Ebony Adams used to beat me all the time when we were in that junior division, and I never had a chance. The closest I ever got to her was like maybe 4th or 3rd or something like that. And then she was she was younger than me, so we never got the opportunity to fight each other. But I've always said I wanted to win a forms title, and if you're giving me that self-defense title, I'm winning.
I would say, hey, you were a part of it. Jeremy Elliott is one of the best Ukis I've ever seen. Technically, he didn't win all this title, but he was a major part of it. I mean, he really choreographed most of them. Being the Uki in a self-defense is really they're the ones doing most of the work.
Absolutely, because you got to make it look realistic. Yes, they're doing realistic techniques, but you have to make it look even more realistic. You know, is it going to be effective? Is it going to work? Is it going to be crowd pleasing? Is it going to be something that can get you the scores that you need to win that world title? And you're absolutely
Sounds
right.
like a
He
form
and
to me.
Max Wade,
Yeah.
wasn't it
Yeah.
Max Wade? They
Yeah.
used to kill it. I
Yep.
enjoyed watching them.
Yeah, they did.
I mean,
you
when
know,
you-
Regina, Casey with him and the bow. Remember that year?
That was a fantastic story.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So lots of good stuff. And yeah, Raymond and his brother Mark Childers
Childress.
had a great self-defense. So
Absolutely.
So,
And
yeah,
that, you
check
know
that
what,
out.
to be funny, and this is just a little joke of mine, that was the only self-defense combination where I saw the bigger person beat up the little person.
It's true.
I can't remember any other time, because it was like you always want the small person to come out on top, you know,
Right.
that David versus Goliath thing. But in general, Mark, he never won. I saw him when we were on Carl Kanai and Outlaws and even GOP. He got his little butt flipped all over the place. And that was what he did. One, because he loved karate, he loved his brother, and then he put on a realistic show.
Yeah, it was really cool. It was really cool. That was a memorable one that I'll never forget, and I think a lot of people don't. So
Absolutely.
All right, so as we're talking about that and just getting you become a junior champion, you know, and start working your way up. Who were your biggest influences? I know, you know, you talked to your instructor Ishmael, but who else, as far as you're on your way up to being an adult?
Well, as far as influence, it was really more, I didn't have a lot of women themselves that would come and we would train, other than Ishmael's his ex-wife now, Jennifer.
Yeah.
Danielle, we would work out sometimes here and there, but it was more of the people I competed against. Whether I won, whether I lost, my only thought was I didn't want them to think they were better than me. Yes, you beat me. Yes, I didn't do what I needed to do to be ready for that tournament. Whatever it was across the board, my biggest fear was they were going to think they were better than me. And even with karate, I felt like my athleticism and the way I loved karate, I still love karate. It's my passion. I'll do any and everything for and with karate. So that was what it was about. It was about, okay, this person, she beat me here, she beat me here. Even if I lost 2 or 3 times in a row, I just didn't want them to think that they were better than me. So it kind of gave me that extra fire. And I don't want to use this word, but I'll say it. It made me want to stalk them because it was like, okay, I beat Regena. Now, you know, who's next? No, I'm still here. I still want to compete. Just because you beat me 2, 3, 4, 5 times in a row, it still doesn't mean you're better than me.
Right.
And that was just my driving point. That's just what I wanted to do and what I loved.
Yeah. I remember you had shared this once at a seminar that when you were in college, you put up just all the names of the top female fighters in your dorm, and you were like, "This is who I'm going to take out."
Their
pictures, the pictures, and their names and everything. Yep.
Oh, yes. I got to hear what the list was.
Yeah. Well, it's at that time in college, it started with Claire and Tara, then Nikki, then it just kind of progressed. And I am the type, I'm a visual person. If I can see it, I can somewhat remember it. I can somewhat get it down. I just maybe need to do it a couple times or a few times. And so again, after I would lose, it would be on my mind. I would dream about it. I would see it, whether it was something I did wrong or it was just something that they did right that I couldn't adjust to. I wanted to see their faces. I wanted to remember them. And then the next time I saw them, I wanted it to flash in my head like a picture. And I wanted to make sure that in general, it was me getting better. If they beat me 2 or 3 times in a row, I didn't want it to be the same after that. It was like, okay, I came up with a game plan. That's what made my rivalries with Tara and Claire and Nikki so good to me. Yes, they would beat me. Yes, they beat me a number of times in a row. But in general, it was something to where I felt like, okay, well, they didn't beat me the same way, or I got better. Or I won the next 2, or I won the next one, you know, that kind of thing. So I just wanted to make sure I made a statement.
So if you're wondering why
Game.
Regina was walking around with a Polaroid camera taking pic, no, I'm just kidding.
No, it was more of sending Chris Gallio around to ask them what tournament they were going to next because I wanted to be there.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Well, see, you do this game enough, you're gonna take some L's.
Yep.
You're just gonna take some, and some of them aren't gonna be good.
Absolutely.
Right? You're gonna have a day where you're like, dude, what the hell happened to them?
What happened? You're right.
What the hell
Absolutely.
happened to them? How'd they lose to them? Like,
Right.
shoot, they had a day and I didn't. It was something like
Absolutely.
that, right? You're gonna have some else. You do this game enough with constant, leveling up. You are gonna beat a lot of people, right? That's what's so fun about this game. It's not boxing. Boxing, you take 2-3 L's, like you're never gonna fight again.
Right.
Nobody wants to see you fight. That's
Right.
not what this game. That's what's so awesome about this sport.
That's
right?
it. That's
It's
it. And
like-
it's flashy. It's that quickness, the excitement. The 2 minutes, when I was younger and more active, I always thought we should have fought maybe 3 minutes. And that was because 2 minutes would go by so fast. But as I got older, that 2 minutes turned into 10 minutes. So it's like my attitude changed about it. But I think sport karate itself is it's amazing. It gives me such a rush, whether I'm competing and fighting or now just coaching and teaching. It's like Madden. If I can make you understand that this will work, that you can do this no matter what, be confident and just explode on it. It's like playing the video games. If you just listen to me, we're going to come out on top. And losing teaches you how to win. If you lose, then you understand it, you fix it, and then you go and you make those adjustments, and then it teaches you how to win.
Well, as long as when you lose, you're not making excuses.
That too. Yes, sir.
Right.
Because a loss is a loss.
All right.
So we're
Go ahead.
kind of getting on that. So you mentioned, the sport karate female competition in the late 90s, early 2000s. This is when you were coming up into your own. I believe was 98 your first adult title, right? Or was it 90?
97.
97. Okay, yeah, because you're
Yes.
you're older than Raymond, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
so 97. And did you go against Angela on both of those, or
in the adult? Yes, sir. Actually,
Okay.
Look at you.
Yeah.
Look at you.
yeah, I know a lot of this stuff.
Look,
So
the
yeah, so
size.
that was for that time too in that division, that was kind of a rivalry, I guess. She definitely was
Absolutely.
taking it seriously. I'm trying to remember where she was from. She was
Colorado.
Colorado. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Is it Tim McCaskill or Troy
Yes.
McCaskill?
Troy McCaskill. Yes,
That's it.
right. So, and then as 99 and 2000 comes in, more teams from outside are coming in. Just explain. You talked about those fighters. Who else were big in that time, at least for female competition, that you just had? I mean, that just not necessarily a rivalry, but were names.
In the early 90s. Now you're making me think back. I'm old.
No,
it's okay.
90s. Late 90s, early 2000s. Sorry.
I'm not necessarily sure it would have been someone like my age or older. I think it was more of the younger girls watching us as we were competing against each other. And then once they moved into the adult division, it kind of gave them a game plan of what they needed to do and how they needed to do it. I mean, I fought so many women in general. Gina Thornton,
Right.
we fought. Yes, she's a few years younger than me, but the moment she moved into adults, I mean, she was giving me hell. I think if I remember correctly, I've won more, but it hadn't taken away from her beating me or even close fights or even some fights where I thought, well, damn, I got lucky, because it could have went this way when it went my way type thing. It was just a lot. Ashley, for Ahmed's wife, she gave me some good fights. In general, I think at the beginning she needed to gain her own game plan against me in general, and that helped her start to get better. Because towards the end, I think it was before they were married, and when she was more active, then she was beating me more on a consistent basis. And that was one of the people that I was saying, I don't want her to think she's better than me. And I'm not saying she wasn't. Some people out there can think that or will think that. It was more of me having confidence in myself and believing in myself and knowing like I can do this. She beat me this time, or that time, but it doesn't stop or it doesn't take away from what I can do and what I am. So in general, I mean, it was a lot of women out there that definitely gave me some good all around fights, brawls.
And I remember Regina for a while, especially in the NBL or even on the West Coast, it was like if you had a close fight, Regina, all of a sudden that team was picking you up. You know, like
absolutely.
I think of like a Marielle Elliott,
absolutely.
I got
Jessica Caruvias
questions about that.
You know, Marielle, Jessica Caruvias. Those are two names I think about. You know,
absolutely.
So,
it was a lot of females that was in that level, and those are females, like I said, that are younger than me. So just them watching or being there when I fought other people in general, because at that time I became the older one at the top, you know, and watching all the other girls that I saw as kids and juniors, they had now moved into adults. So it made me kind of go, okay, am I still able to do this? Can I do this? And then it was like the competition and my ego. And again, not my ego to where I was arrogant, but it was more of, I don't want them to think they're better. No matter what, if I can't do it, then I will say I can't do it. And then I would step aside and let the young girls, but I was still active. I still felt like I had the mentality to do it. And again, once I met up with Plowden, then it made me go from kind of second guessing myself to like, no, I'm still here and I'm going to stay up here until I feel like I don't want to be here anymore.
Right. Now, who was someone that you fought at that time that maybe doesn't get brought up enough as far as their name as a high level competitor that you would put maybe even your top 5 or top 10?
That's a great question.
You know,
I
know I can think of a couple, but
I would say Casey Nash or Marks, you know, however or whichever way you want to refer to her. She was definitely one, and then the way she came from being first just a forms competitor, weapons competitor, and then she made that transition into point fighting. I remember her and I fought 1 or 2 times at Super Grands, and she gave me damn good fights. Right. So she was one of those people that made that all around turnaround. Someone else, let me think. There were more people. Someone else on the West Coast that I used to fight a lot. I can't actually think right now. I'll have to come back to that one and maybe bring that up later. But
I mean, I know for me, Tara doesn't get enough credit. I don't
absolutely
think.
not.
I mean, she was amazing, and she won everything. When you really think about it, she won almost
absolutely.
everything.
She actually beat Nikki Carlson, and I've never beaten Nikki. Nikki beat me 3 times, and that was something that drove me crazy. But the very first time they fought at
it was Amerikick. It was Amerikick.
Was it Amerikick or no? Was it at Plimple's tournament?
That was the next time. That was the next time.
Yes, she actually beat her, and it's like, damn, if she can do it, I know I can do it, you know, because to me, my mentality, if you have 2 kickers, that's kind of like fencing, you know, you gotta, you know, it's not always gonna work. And I thought my mentality, I'm a puncher, I'm a better puncher. So if I move angles and do this, and then it's still the next time I fought Nikki with a game plan and thinking, okay, try to kick with it, just wasn't the same. In general, Tara had her number and was able to do it, because I don't even think they fought maybe 3 or 4 times, and out of that Tara won twice, you know, so that's a winning record to me when you think about who Nikki is.
And so Nikki finished her last fight was against Tara, and she that was at that tournament at Great Southeast at her husband's tournament. And Nikki won that one. And she was
Rick,
like, I'm gonna,
it was Spartanburg. Yes. Okay, so, I remember.
So that made sure. That was a wild event, man. That was a lot of fun. What I got to find that tape and put that out there, because that
absolutely.
Was a great
if you have that, please tag me in it. I'd love to see it.
Whoa! If you have that would be so dope.
Between Jeff and Jack Felton, they have some of the best karate libraries. I wish I had a VCR just so I could ask Jack to send me a video, because he has some of the best. Even when we were on our Kanai days way back when I was still early teens and moving into adults, he has some of the best fights, and it's just like, wow, I can't believe you even video that and still have it. You know, that's the amazing part.
Right.
Well,
Yeah,
let's go
Conroy
right there.
does too, man.
Let's hit that. That might be a good segue point.
Yes.
Because I mean, let's be honest. We could do this thing for 4.5 hours.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
This is good.
But you would mention when you go, that was back to our Kanai days. How many teams have you been on?
Yeah.
And can you name them?
Let's see. Let's start from the beginning. Let's see how many I can remember because
Yeah,
there
what was
has been a
team
few,
one?
especially as I got older. I first started locally. My first major team would have been firefighters.
Firefighters, yep.
And after firefighters, then I went to the Sherman Oak Raiders. And then from the Sherman Oak Raiders, we went to Carl Kanai's team, to the Outlaws. From the Outlaws, then I went to SES. From SES,
now were you on Liker at all? I thought you were on.
Oh well, yes, sir.
Yeah,
You're right. That wasn't necessarily on the team. Okay. I did do team fighting with Christine and Danielle and I. Yes, sir. We won an NBO title, I think 2 years.
Yeah.
But there were some other teams in there. Just as I've gotten older, I take shots to the head.
Yeah,
I don't necessarily remember them all, and I'm not taking anything away from them because they help.
We got SES now, so we're on SES. So we're
yes, sir.
This is wild.
Okay, SES, and then after SES, GOP.
Yeah, GOP would be, yeah.
Yes, GOP, and then I was with them for years. Kind of longer than almost anyone else. Close to 6, 7, and we started out as Chris Gallio's martial arts. It wasn't even a GOP team at that point. When I first started training him, he was probably 9 years old, a little snot-nosed, little brat. And no, I love him to death. He's my girl's godfather. So he's great.
He's a great guy.
But it started out with his team school, or his school's team. And then once we started fighting and people were paying attention to us, then Chris wanted to start a team. And so he talked to his mom and his dad about it. And they sponsored us for years. At least I want to say somewhere between 6 and 8. And it could have been longer when you think about what they did for me and certain other people when there wasn't an actual team. You know, they just still wanted to be involved and things like that. And Chris loves karate. So he still wanted to be a part of it. He was still competing all the way up to, you know, I think it was his 18th or 19th birthday. But they were all amazing as far as sponsoring the team with whatever we wanted to do, and gave us the best opportunities to compete and go out there, because we used to travel for workouts. They would come here to Texas, or we would go to certain places. To everyone that was in a certain area where they had access to a school, we would go and we would train and we would work out and things like that. So it turned out to be more than just like SES and some of my other teams. They went from being teams or business and turned into family. And you can't tell me that they're not family.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, that's a good point.
Now, after the GOP, there's a couple other ones. So we had we got Hayabusa, K-Top.
Absolutely, Hayabusa.
Well, but before that, you were an all-star.
Yes,
absolutely.
All-star,
I was an all-star. I was an all-star. Probably they started about the year to 2 years before myself. Because when I first became a member of All Stars, Jody was still competing and he was still in the tournament. I mean, he was still competing in tournaments, and we actually went to Best Fighter, and that was my first European win. Yes, I actually had that trophy for so long. It was that big globe, and it looked really, really cool. And then the bottom of it was like marble, and I had it for a long time, a really, really, really long time. And then after that, there were just certain other teams and other things that I did, and it wasn't something to where I didn't appreciate it. I appreciate every and anything anyone's ever done for me as far as sponsoring, as far as being a part of my karate elevation in general. But the European fighting and that title at that moment, just because I guess I kind of doubted myself. And when I say doubted myself, I thought their style of fighting was a little bit different to where I couldn't adjust. And once I was able to do that, it kind of gave me a different aspect, a different mindset. Going to Dublin, going to the Irish Open. I never won that tournament, but I got down to the Final Four one year, and I got a penalty point because I got frustrated. That was my fault. But that is something that those tournaments were some of the big ones. that I wish that I could kind of do all over again. Not because I wasn't satisfied with the way I fought, but in general, just the atmosphere, fighting for your country and just out there.
Yeah.
Just the elevation of attitudes and everybody. No one was disrespecting anyone, but just knowing that you were representing your team, your country. And it was like fighting in the Olympics. You know, it gave us something to strive for and something to say, wow, one day we can be on another level, a different level, like the Olympics. But I enjoyed it. I think we all here in the States should at least cross over to different countries. And I'm not just saying Europe, go to Canada, go to Mexico, go to any tournament or any other league that can help you elevate your type of competing, whatever you are looking for, or whatever you want to get out of competing. I think you should take it to that next level, because in general, that was a rush. If I could have done it a little bit earlier and not been labeled the NBL girl,
right.
it would have made a difference in my career itself.
Man, lots to
Well, you
unpack
hit
there.
something
Yeah.
that I kind of want to talk about. So you mentioned going overseas.
Yes,
but you
sir.
also mentioned fighting Marielle at one point.
Yes, sir.
When you guys fought for the diamond,
Okay.
I remember feeling like, this is great. I haven't seen either of you fight at that tournament in a while. So I was like, this is fantastic. I think that was 2007, right?
7 or 8. Yes, sir. That was my first diamond ring.
Right. And I'm like, I just felt great. Like, all right, this is some new blood, even though I know Regena's not new blood. She's a champion. Right. But it was very exciting. So then I was like, because I had already heard of Regena Thompson in the GOP days, and I knew that she was on SES. I'm saying this like you're not right here.
It's okay. It's all right. I'm here.
But and I'm like, man, I got to pay attention to this. So then Hamid comes up to me like, I don't know, like a month later, and he goes, yo, I'm going to go to Russia. I'm like, you going to what?
The martial arts Olympics.
Like,
yes, sir.
What you going to Russia for? And he goes, oh, dude, Damon Gilbert reached out to me and wants me to be on this team where we go fight in Russia. And I'm like, all right, who's all going? And he starts naming off some people, and he starts naming some forms competitors. And I'm like, how's Mark Canonizato going to do? Right? He's like, oh, it's also like a tournament. It's basically a tournament, but you know, like the real deal is the fighting team.
Absolutely.
And he said you were there. And then what his experience of the tournament was like nothing he's ever experienced before.
Absolutely. None of us.
And it sounded to me like it was like a WKF event almost.
It was my first example or my first experience being they said semi-contact, but it was more like full contact. Because we were able to hit knockouts weren't legal, but they weren't illegal. Because I actually got one. Look, I got one, and that was because we were tempted. Once we found out that you wouldn't get disqualified as long as you weren't being too aggressive and you were being belligerent or anything like that, we were gonna get some extra little bonuses for knockouts. So I actually was able to get me one, maybe two. And then I think Damon, he got one of the guys after he knocked him out. I think this is when they ripped off his shirt and were trying to kind of get him. And we were all kind of had each other's back and we were protecting each other.
Wait. No, you can't gloss over that. What happened? What?
I know I shouldn't have said that the moment it came out of my mouth. Okay, Damon was in a division in his regular point fighting division. They had divisions for point fighting, and then they had divisions to where it was more like continuous, like the open weight. And so the agreement was their Russian champions or their champions would fight in our divisions because we were point fighters, and then we as champions would fight in their divisions. So that's what we did. I think it went on a Thursday or Friday, because I remember waking up on that Saturday and my hands hurt to where I was like, I don't know if I can do this next division. But Damon was fighting, and someone out of the crowd grabbed his shirt or his uniform top and literally ripped it off, like trying to hold him back from fighting some of the other Europeans or Russians. That was one of the times that I lost. Emily, I know she has it on video because she's told me before. I did a division that was takedowns.
Oh, okay.
And it was
Yes.
against their champion. So I was like, well, okay, if she's gonna do my division, I'll do her division. I know nothing about ground fighting. I'm a stand-up fighter, I'm a kickboxer, I'm a point fighter. So when we went out there, I mean, she beat me, I have to say at least like 12 to 14 to 2. Literally. And I maybe I didn't even have 2. And it was so frustrating. I had steam coming out of my ears and I kept saying, wait, stop, time. And Emily walked over. She was like, what's going on? What's wrong? I can't do this. Every time I tried to take her down, it was like lifting a Mack truck. Like that was her like judo division. Like she knew what to do. She knew how to do it. Wow. And even when I tried to take her down, she would block it and she would flip me over. And I was like, ah! I just couldn't take it. It was like, I hated it. And then when it was time to do my division, when it was point fighting, she didn't do it. And that frustrated me even more. We actually wanted to or tried to get this kind of team fight going to where we could fight. We wanted to use Damon, Hamid. It was, who else was there? It was someone else because it was going to be 5 of us and I would have been the woman. But they couldn't get their team together for us to fight this team fight. It was just frustrating. I won. Damon won all 3 golds. I think Hamid won all 3 golds. And I got 2 golds and 1 silver. And that was in that judo division. I hated that division. I hated it. But
there's some good videos from that. Like I know
we have to ask Emily because I know she has it. She's told me before how she's had it. That team we had was packed. We had the North Cuts.
Crazy. Yeah, the North. That's what I was gonna say. Sage knocking that kid out with the spin back kick is
absolutely
wild.
He dropped him. We had Marissa Mares. There was a lot of us on that team, whether it was me and Gerald Dawson was on there. That was my first time kind of getting to know him and hanging out with him at that time. It was just a good, solid team. And everyone came home with at least 1 gold medal. It wasn't everything that we wanted, but it was still a good fight. My mother still has that poster where we did the big team picture. She still has that at her house on the wall.
That's awesome.
And I have all the signatures from all of us on the team.
Wow, that's cool. That's an experience not to forget.
So what was Russia like?
Yeah.
Well, when I first got off the plane, it was snowing, of course, snow up to my neck. And I know nothing about snow because I'm from Texas and an island. But I got off and I kept speaking like Drago, Drago from Rocky, I must break you. And then we were there for like 9 days, a long time. One of the things that I'm a foodie. And if food doesn't look right, smell right, taste right, if I start to taste it, then it's like, I'll just wait till I get home. Well, we went to, I want to say KFC or McDonald's. No, it wasn't McDonald's. It was KFC. And they couldn't tell me what the meat was. Like, it's chicken. No, it's not chicken. Well, why do you say chicken surprise? Because tell me what the surprise part is. I need to know any and everything. My thought was I didn't see any pigeons, any birds, any stray dogs, nothing. So I kept thinking this was like a gumbo soup from Halloween or something, in general. So for 9 days, I ate boiled eggs and bread. And when I got home, I had lost a lot of weight just from competing all those days.
Wait a minute.
Wow.
You ate boiled eggs and bread.
Yes.
I mean,
wow.
I think after a while, I'd have had some fried pigeon.
No, sir. No. I didn't want it. It was actually a great experience because we went to the Russian consulate and they had this big ceremony for us. It was really, really nice. But they just had foods that I wasn't attracted to. It just everything had a sauce. Everything was supposedly like they ate. I'm not a lamb eater by any means. I don't eat kangaroo. I don't eat any of that kind of food. So when you tell me, you can't tell me what the meat is. I eat steak, I eat chicken, I eat fish, I eat that kind. And if you can't tell me what it is, then I'm just not going to eat it. They even had a dish, something with prune sauce. No, thank you. No, thank you. Yes, you heard me correctly. It was a lot different. It was just too much for me as far as the food. The city itself, we got to explore a lot and see a lot. And then again, with going to the Russian consulate, it was a very prestigious, a very exciting moment. And then building and bonding with all the team. it was great. It just, when it came to personal choices, it was like, okay, you know what? I'll just wait till I get home. My mother is a great cook. So it was like, Mom, when I would call home, freeze me something, whatever it is. And when I get home, I'm going to eat it all. Just lay it out on the table like Sunday dinner and I'm going to get it. So it was good. It was good.
Oh man, that's great.
It was some of the best experience. It was one of the best experiences. I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it.
I bet.
You know,
Man.
speaking of experiences, I'm gonna segue again. So you have fought a lot of people. You said
A
you
whole
fought
lot.
you said you fought Nikki Carlson 3 times.
Yes.
Like, that's amazing, right?
Yes. She booted me off the stage when we were at in Kentucky. Was it Kentucky? I think it was WKA when it was out there in Kentucky. And well, the first round, I think I was winning by like 1 or 2 points, but then the second round, I mean, her leg is all of the size of the panhandle of Texas. So with her kicking me, and if you know my fighting, I'm willing to take a side kick in the arm so I could get to you, so I could hit you, so I can make it roll off of me. But her side kicks, I remember her kicking me off the stage at least twice. And Plowden is like, "You're all right. I will be. I just want to finish this fight, like I want to win." And I came up short. I think she beat me 12-8 or 12-7, something like that.
Wow. Well, I guess where I was going is there anybody that you did not fight that you felt like?
Linda Denley.
Okay. I didn't even finish the question.
Everyone always asks me that. That's one question.
Okay.
Have you ever fought Linda?
Both
No,
in
I was
Texas,
always too young.
Yeah.
I was always too young. And then when I did get to the level, the adult, she was on her way out. She had some injuries. She had to have surgery, I believe, on her rotator's cuff or her hip or something like that. But in general, especially when I felt like I had just moved into the adult women's, I felt like I could beat her. And that's just my confidence. I'm not saying it would have happened, but I damn sure would have tried my best. But we've never fought. We've never trained together. We've never done any of that.
Is there anybody that just like, it just never happened? Like, was in your time, but
same age or younger?
Yeah, but you were at you're the same age or younger or something, where you were at the tournament, they were at the tournament, and it just never happened.
Ebony Adams.
Yeah,
we never fought ever. And we were at a lot of tournaments together. She
That's
was always
odd.
on that younger end. Even when she moved into the 14 to 17-year-old, I was on my way out that same year. When we could have fought for team fighting, as far as her being the older one and I myself being the older one, it never happened like that. We didn't match up at all. Never.
Wow. Yeah, that would have been a great one. I mean, to
absolutely.
See.
I think so.
I
think so.
Especially since like Ebony as well was one of those like legendary junior fighters, you know what I mean? That everyone wanted to see, and you were doing the same thing, and so would have really been great to see that.
Absolutely. And she was one of those people like Jason Borelli, one of those true martial artists. She was able to compete at forms and win and succeed at forms and also at fighting. So that combination for me and for my ego, it would have killed 2 birds with 1 stone. She's beaten me all these times in forms. I've never gotten a chance to beat her. And I know that my ability in forms, I don't think I was anywhere close. I'm not saying I should have won. But when it came to fighting, it was like, okay, well, you beat me in forms, but I'm going to beat you here. And that is going to wipe the board with all the times you beat me, even in forms. And that was just the way my mentality was.
Yeah, and it just never happened. Wow.
It just never happened. Never, ever happened.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
So the women fighting today, you see some of it?
Oh, absolutely. I love to watch women fighting.
Tell me what you think. Tell me what you think.
I think honestly, they are good, but they are more, and I don't mean any disrespect, they are more girl fighters. We were just in general fighters to where we hit hard, to where we trained and worked out with men, to where they would not necessarily beat us, but would hit us like we were men. And I don't see it. And I'm not saying they don't do it at all, but what I'm saying is what I've witnessed from judging their type of fighting at tournaments or even just watching it. It's just the level of intensity and level of the power with the speed that they use. And I don't think a lot of them are as mentally strong as we were or are. We could outthink you. We can make better adjustments. We just fought in a different era to where it was a little bit more grungy. Like we threw everything out on the mat, and I think now it's a little softer. But I don't mean it disrespectful at all. I think that they do a lot of things, because a lot of these girls now, they compete at both or forms, traditional, or something else to that manner. So I'm not taking away anything from what they're doing. I just think it's the way karate competition has elevated or has changed.
Yeah.
Or drifted too.
Yeah.
It might
Say
be,
it again.
I said, or not necessarily elevated, but drifted too.
Absolutely. Right. It's like a change, like a kind of like an eclipse. Once it passed over, then everything came out on the other side a little bit different.
Yeah. And that's why, like, the ones that are at the top that we consider being like, they are those kind of those style of fighters that you guys were, and they're really just at the top of the pack. Like,
absolutely. Some of the women I used to compete with back in the day, I would bet money that they would enter a men's division and win. Now, today, I just can't say the same thing. Now, there may be a few out there that could and can, but as far as the number of us back in the day that could actually enter a man's division or a men's division, we could actually win. I don't think that's the same number of people or number of females.
Okay.
I know there's one.
Who's that? Morgan?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's for sure.
Yeah.
That's for sure, but that's one.
Yeah.
Again, in our era, that's 5 to 6 to 7 versus that.
I'll tell you right now. If Nikki would have entered any of those divisions,
she would have killed half of those men.
Killed them.
Her,
I remember thinking
Dottie White's one too. People did not. No one wanted.
I saw Dottie White and Linda Dinley fight at Al Garza's tournament, Texas Challenge, when I was like 13 or 14, and I remember thinking, who is the country white girl that just came to Texas and beat Linda? Because she beat her. Yeah. I remember watching it going, I've never seen Linda lose before. And then after that, I saw her at Kentucky. I saw her at a few other places, and it's like, wow, she's good, you know. And I never would have thought somebody on that level would have beaten Linda in that way. And when I say beat her, she didn't just beat her in point fighting. They were slugging it out. They were killing each other. They were, I mean, it was like watching what's her, Mitzi Tyler, and Linda, those fights. Yeah. I remember watching them fight 3 or 4 times. And then even Dottie fighting Nikki. Yeah. No one has a match or a rivalry in that matter, not just in points, but the way they hit each other, the attitude, the grunginess, the way they fight. It's just, the eras are 2 different things to me.
Yeah. I think we've been robbed of some rivalries. I think because like Jeff and I brought up the Nikki Dottie brawl at least a couple times. Yeah. Right. We brought that up a couple times, but I think it was just unfortunate. I think the last, what it would have been great one, because they were at their peaks, would have been Chelsea and Morgan. And Chelsea just stepped away, and she ain't got nothing to prove to nobody. She don't have to step back in if she don't want to. Yeah, obviously the sport would love it.
I don't think Morgan was at the same stage when they were fighting at the beginning.
No,
because I've watched them fight a few times back in the day, and it was just totally different.
And I think after Chelsea stepped away, Morgan reached another level.
Absolutely.
Right.
So now you just left with questions.
Absolutely.
Like, what would it have been? But even then, we would have been great to have competitions like that, to have more of, just to have a rivalry. Who was a rival you had? Who was someone you were like, I don't care what you got. Like, you're going to show up,
and you're going to do your best with any and everyone. You know, we were talking about Morgan. Morgan is another person that I've never beat. We fought twice, and she's beat me both times. Yes, once at whose tournament were we at? Oh, Battle. It was after I just had my oldest. She was about 6 months old, and we went there on Father's Day weekend. Wow. And she beat me in overtime, and then she beat me again when I was on KTOC in team fighting at Battle.
At Battle. Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Wait a minute. Time out. Did you say you went to the Battle
6 months
when your daughter was 6 months old?
Yeah, I was fighting in a tournament when she was 6 weeks old. I fought in New Orleans at Pee Wee Blanco's tournament. She was born. Well, it was a little bit more than 6 weeks. She was born in December, and his tournament was at the 1st of February.
I
All right,
know.
3 months. Wow.
I know. There ain't no way doctor said that was cool.
Actually, she did, because she was actually her daughter is someone that I trained in Galveston at Ishmael School. So when I first told her I was pregnant and I was excited, she wanted to be my doctor, which I was thankful for, because I found out she was one of the best in the state, within the top 10 in the state. And throughout my pregnancy, she would watch, because I was still active. I was still working out. And when I got about 7 to 8 months, she told me I couldn't teach or do karate anymore because I had knee surgery, back in college playing basketball, and it was giving out on me. So she's like, just wait. I'm sorry?
Then how did we not even talk about that?
I don't know. I talk too much sometimes, people tell me.
Man, all right, keep going.
So she had told me, once I had kind of, if you want to refer to it as bedridden, once I got done and I had my daughter, my first question was, how long will it take before I can work out? And so she said, it depends on how you take care of yourself, the first few weeks. So for the first, before I went to my 6-week visit, we had talked a few times on the phone, and I told her I just wanted to start shadow boxing and maybe punching on the bag. And that turned into doing bag work. And then that turned into, someone come hold the targets for me and let's do some drills. Well, you need to work on this. Let me just move around with you. And so I started working out and training and didn't really realize it. And then when the tournament came around, it was about 2 weeks before the tournament. I was like, I want to go to the tournament. I want to fight, because I think Marcel was coming down with his ATL team and his daughter and a few other women. And I was like, I want to go. And I think Gina was there then. And I wanted to fight. And so I ultimately fought. And then after I fought at his tournament and I won, it was like, I just need to keep training and I can do it. And so I just did it. I love competing. I'm a competitor.
That's amazing. Oh man. All right. So I know we're gonna have to cut this one short.
We're gonna have to do a round two.
Yeah.
Yes, we will have to do a round two.
We're gonna have to do round two. Now, just to let everybody know, next week we're going to be, as far as live, we're going to be on our Patreon. So we really hope you guys support the Martial Arts Center Network. You can still catch us on Thursday morning on all the podcast platforms. So if you want to listen to that, make sure you support that, share that. But if you want to join in and engage with us live, this is where it's going to be. Support Martial Arts Center Network, so that way we have so much bonus stuff coming your way. I have some different things, projects that I'm working on to put on there, and Regena's someone that I want to feature on that as well. So we got lots going on with that. We got some funny. I haven't watched it yet, but it's like an hour and a half long of the Amerikick breakdown, which is like uncut and raw, which is crazy.
It was good.
I haven't seen that either.
Then apparently Angel, was probed by aliens, so we're gonna get that story. And then and then we're gonna get Raw back as well. So
absolutely.
Let us know when that's gonna happen. Yeah, we miss hearing you and hearing you guys. We want to have Willie on as well. So
right.
That is gonna be.
I can't wait.
We'll
get it.
Yeah. So go
great,
check
man.
this out.
I tell you what, he is maybe some of the best quality entertainment in martial arts.
Willie?
Yeah.
He is definitely very entertaining. We've been told that we really complement each other very well, because he's goofy, I'm goofy, and then we just have fun.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, it's a gold. It's a gold experience.
Oh, it is.
I appreciate it.
It's great. It's great.
So guys, I appreciate you guys having me on. This was great. I can't wait to come back.
Regina, this has been awesome. This has been so much fun. Yeah, we got to do it again.
Absolutely. Just let me know when.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. All right, Alex, let's take it.
This has been awesome, man. I can't wait for it again. This has been another episode of Inside Scoop with Alex and Jeff. I'm Alex Dingman.
I'm Jeff Doss. See you guys next week.